So I've organized part three and just discussing kind of the tail end of the issue and the process of it. And so one part of it is really, again, on the organizational side and following our outline. But as interviews are completed or as they're working on, maybe I'm working on questions or questions are done, but I need photos, different things like that. I just mark our outline in different colors to kind of show my graphic designer, okay, this is where I'm at with this, or this is finished. You can create these pages. So she knows that she can get to work because obviously what takes even longer than anything is the graphic design side. I'm not saying she takes on, I'm saying there's nothing you can do about it. She has to put together an entire magazine issue. So she needs to be able to take her time to do that. And so I think just following that outline, it kind of helps us have the organizational process. Then once everything is said and done, all interviews are in, they're all marked as complete. She's done everything she can. She uploads a draft, and the draft PDF just shows me what all the pages look like, the numbers of the pages that the features are on, all the little details. And I just go through page by page by page, and I just check for edits, for grammar, anything I might have missed in my process. I also just check for any design glitches, like if there's too much spacing between words or someone's name happened to be misspelled, or on the maybe on the outline or part of the issue that shows the pages, it doesn't match with the page number of the feature itself. Just going through and like trying to find those small things, because honestly, one of the worst things that can happen is you do everything, you think you have it all right, you send it out to the talent, and then their publicist says, oh, their name is spelled wrong on this page. Like, can you edit that? We need to take the entire issue down and re-upload it with the fixes and send everyone new links. So that's something I really, really try to avoid. But of course, again, as an independent publication with just the two of us, like you're bound to run into some of these problems. But I think now that we've been working together on this for quite some time, we've kind of figured out our system, which has been really helpful. And honestly, I think the creation part is what's most exciting, because it's one thing for me to do the interviews and put the answers up and, all of that. But when you see it in its real format and you get to go page by page and see the beautiful kind of design choices Nicole decided to make and all of that, it really makes it come to life and feel like, okay, this is something, like we sat here and made this. And now the talent can, appreciate it and enjoy it once we send it out. And speaking of that, then the process of how do you actually send it out and what do you do to upload it? How does it go from a PDF to a flippable publication? All of that. So I've been using this site since Neodo was created, called Issuu, and it's an incredible website that's all for online publications and digital publications. And essentially what you do on Issuu is you can upload the PDF, it'll turn it into that kind of flippable document, and then you can name it, you can say like this is an editorial publication or this is something for news, or categorize it, and then you can also kind of mark it as something that you want to make it cost money, or you want to give people the chance to download the PDF themselves when they click on all of these things. And Issuu's amazing. We've been using it for a really long time, and I think they're super helpful, especially for independent publications, because it can seem very intimidating to even get started and put your work anywhere. And it's like, how can I do this? So then getting into, I guess, the upload process and how it's actually done. Issuu does their own kind of review process, just in case anything has to be flagged for some reason. You have to wait for that to go through, and then it has to come up on your page and be something that's clickable. And it also gives you a link. So it always gives me a link that I can send out to people so you can read the publication, all of those things. And so that's like a really big part of the process. And something that's really important for Issuu specifically is that sometimes if it reviews it, it could take 24 hours for it to go through this process. And so you'll have these times where it's fully uploaded, you think you're done, and then day comes to publish and send it out, and it's like, oh, it's still going through review, and maybe it got wrongly flagged. You have to worry about that. So even within the timing, like having to be very careful about when we publish and how much time we give ourselves to kind of correct any sort of problems like that is really important. And so that's just like kind of a big part of it that maybe people obviously wouldn't really think about as you're reading something. It's kind of the behind the scenes part of how did it come to be? How do I even have the opportunity to read this? Once it's uploaded, it's done. I have all my links. I start to pool everything. So I save the link that Issuu gives me. I create a free link because our publications do cost $4 each to read. And so I also have to go on the site and create a free link that I can send to talent and publicists so they can just read the issue with no problem and not have to worry about paying for it. And then I also have to go through the process of publishing the magazine on our website, on like Neodo's actual website, which basically is just the one-stop shop where you can see every single issue, who's on the cover, and get information on Neota and other interviews that aren't always in the magazine itself. But sticking to the issue, so for issue 36, I actually did a bit of a different rollout process, which I think is much better than our past rollouts and something I'm going to continue. But basically, the magazine is then put on the issue website, so it has the front homepage. As soon as you click on Neota's website, then it takes you to, you can see issue 36. What is it about? Who will you find inside? And then I also published every single interview that was in the magazine. I also published it on our website, gave it a new title, like an article title, published a full interview, and then at the bottom said, like, this was originally published in issue 36. You can find it here if you want to then go to and read the full issue versus just a singular interview. And just went through that process too, which I think was really helpful because it gave the talent a chance to have an easier link to send out to their followers or fans, family, etc. when it came time to share the publication. So that was really helpful. And just on the back end, obviously, it's just me on the back end kind of doing all this for updating the website and maintaining the content that's seen by everyone. And so that's just a process that I, again, have to give myself time for to make sure everything's uploaded properly, right names, spellings correct, links are working on all of that. And so, yeah, that's a big part of the process too now, is just that, especially with issue 36, it's kind of the first time that I've really been able to publish things on issue and also on the website so people could read them in both places, which I think is really good. And then one of the kind of parts that goes towards being almost done with the full rollout of the publication is actually going in Adobe and taking the PDF that Nicole makes and sends to me and breaking that down so I can just save the pages for each individual feature. And so that is just going through, honestly, reorganizing the pages, clicking things, saving them with the new name convention, and making sure, the talent can then access their PDFs. For those who haven't worked maybe in the media space, entertainment space before, it's really important for publicists and talent to have PDFs of the publication they're featured in, because they save that. You've noticed it if you go to a musician's website and they have a press section, like they like to have press they've been involved in. And so it's really important for them to have those things and just have a keepsake of course, their interview and put something to share, which might come in handy later. Then once it's uploaded, it's broken down, it's all on the website. I then gather up the links, the saved PDFs, and I write out emails to every single publicist, manager, or talent who I was just interacting with one-on-one, and make sure that I can send them everything they need, so that the day of publishing that we decide, they're then free to share the final issue, share their PDF, share the links, whatever they want to share when the time comes. That's a very important thing, not to miss anyone, of course, when you're saying that out. And I just go by, again, our outline to make sure I have everybody hit, have all the information we need, et cetera, et cetera. And then once that's sent out into the world, I just kind of wait and see reactions. And it's always a really good feeling when you send it to the team and you get an email back and you're like, oh, I love how this turned out. This came out great. Can't wait to share it. I'm like, yes, that means we've done it, victory. And so that's always very exciting, because it's like, okay, one thing for it to be an idea, one thing for it to be like, oh, I wish you had this cover star, you get the cover star, and a whole other thing for them to then see it and actually like it and appreciate it and really be happy that they were able to work with you. That's always a really good feeling. And then kind of smaller things on the back end, really, I think, is also uploading the issue on Picho, which is a site we use for print copies. So Neota is an online publication mainly, but I always like to get print copies to our cover star, and so they can have their own something tangible to really hold and be like, oh wow, this is me on the cover, really exciting for them. And also just something that if a feature does want a print publication, maybe they want their work seen that way, they can then have that. So I send that link to everybody to let them know. And even we had this publication, one of our features got her own print copy. She just wanted one, and she posted online, and it looked incredible. I was so happy that she bought one and liked how it turned out, and she had her photography shown, and it was just really exciting to see her excitement about being featured and all of that. So that was really incredible. And then I think kind of a big part too of the rollout process is really the social media part and sharing the issue. And so Neota has accounts on most platforms like any other magazine, but Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. So I always start with posting on Instagram and having a certain time that I post every cover so that everybody knows, okay, after this point, all the features can also share their work and their feature as well. Always do a post of the cover, a bit about the cover star, a quote from, their interview so people can get a sense of what they talked about and just start to create some buzz and sharing it there. So that I always have to make kind of my own mental outline of who I want to feature and when, and also create all the captions and the copy that we use for every single Instagram post. And so there's really kind of a fun planning process there of like, who do we post when? If it's a playlist, what's a fun way to make this look for people to want to click on it and check it out? And that might redirect them to the issue. All of the things. You just want eyes on your work. And so you have to really try to figure out like how to reach people where they are. And that's like a big part of the rollout process is getting that done and making sure people are just excited about who's featured and want to see who's in the next issue. So yeah, that's kind of part 3 and really the final creation, final rollout, getting out to teams part of the process, and then getting it out to the world part of the process, which is always really one of the most exciting parts of the whole thing. But yes, thank you so much for watching. That's really kind of the central parts of coming out with an issue of Neota. And I might have, spoken quickly in any of these parts, or maybe didn't include something that people might say, like, well, how did this part of the issue? If there's anything else about Neota you'd want to see or understand how it works, let me know, and I can make a whole another video on certain parts of the process. If you want me to go more in depth about anything, I can. But that's really how it comes to be. And I think, again, as an independent publication, I think I've had to figure out ways over the past few years to really figure out, okay, what makes sense for us, what are the right platforms and tools to use to help us. And I just want to say to people, if you're thinking of creating something like an independent publication or whatever, just know you can. Like, we have so many tools out there nowadays, so many things that make it easier for us to create and really have other people see our work. And I think it can be really intimidating to think like, oh, I could never do something like this. But when I looked at magazines when I was 16 and I had the idea to create Neota, I never would have looked at Teen Vogue and then thought, oh, I can make something like that. But I just randomly had this thought and I was like, maybe I can, and did it. And now we're years later and still doing it. And I would have really regretted if I hadn't kind of gone with this passion and this idea and I just let it die because it seemed totally implausible. But really nowadays, with the amount of technology we have, the amount of places we have to look things up and understand how they're done, nothing's really impossible anymore. But just remind people of that, and just remind people that, it's going to be good. You got this. You can create something. You can bring your passions to life. It's possible. Okay. Thank you. And again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos on the channel because we have a lot more to come and a lot of ideas that we want to put forth and make real.